Do 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 do. Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and here we are, Dreamy Dreamland. There she is. Pretty good. So your kid's leaving. I want you to listen to something. Listen to this.
All right, guys. So it is time to have the conversation.
Let me walk out.
Is Donald Trump intentionally crashing the economy? Now, I understand that sounds crazy, but when you look at the argument, honestly, the pieces sort of fit. They just do. So, and then we'll get into why he would do such a thing. So let's start with this here. It's official. The tariffs are now effectively in place. So you have 25% tariffs on all goods from Mexico to the U.S. That is catastrophic because we import so much from Mexico. Go look at the list. The list is endless. So basically, that's a 25% tax on anything you would buy that happens to come from Mexico. At the least a 25% tax, because some products actually cross the border twice. Okay, so we have that. We have 25% tariffs on all goods except energy from Canada to the U.S., 20% tariff on many goods from China to the U.S., 10% tariffs on energy from Canada to the U.S., 25% retaliatory tariffs on the $155 billion of goods from U.S. to Canada. So, and this is just the beginning. They're also talking about potentially tariffs on the EU. So, I mean, this is, it's, you can only call it economic insanity. That's literally it. Like, this is economic insanity. And understand something, guys. I'm a person who is somewhat sympathetic to targeted tariffs, right? Because the whole idea of tariffs is what? You have a U.S. industry that's trying to compete with a foreign industry. Maybe that industry is kicking the ass of the U.S. And so one of the ways you can make the U.S. more competitive, incentivize domestic manufacturing, incentivize buying American, is you tariff the products coming in from that foreign industry that's trying to compete with your industry. But the whole point of that is to raise the price of the foreign good to make the U.S. good comparatively cheaper. So it's similar quality or potentially even better quality at a cheaper price. The tariffs can help you if they're targeted, but an across-the-board tariff is literally economic insanity. You're effectively putting at least a 25% tariff on like all goods that are imported into the country. That's mental, man. That like literally will directly lead to inflation. And then you're also looking at a recession, an economic downturn. So boom, that's stagflation. That's like the worst of all worlds economically. I should also give you this. Breaking, China will impose additional tariffs of up to 15% on imports of key U.S. farm products, including chicken, pork, soy, and beef, beginning March 10th. This follows U.S. President Donald Trump's order to raise tariffs on imports of Chinese products. So this is why Trump came out the other day and told the U.S. farmers, like, get ready to sell more domestically. Get ready to sell more domestically. Have fun. That's basically like a subtle way of being like, you guys are fuckington, and I'm just telling you that. Like, I mean, seriously shooting himself in the dick. Okay, so now let's talk about, and of course the market tanked with this news. Now, I should point out, as of right now, as I'm talking to you, the news already came out. Trump is considering either fully rolling back the tariffs or partially rolling back the tariffs. I guess he's waiting to see how horrible the economic fallout is to determine what direction he goes. But again, why? Why would he do any of this? This is all self-inflicted wounds. Why would he do it? Crystal's going to lay out the full theory here. Listen to this.
All right, guys, question today. Is Trump intentionally crashing the economy? I've been entertaining this theory a little bit more lately because his economic moves just seem so stupid and terrible and counterproductive without thinking that he is intentionally trying to cause harm. So let me go ahead and walk you through the theory and you can tell me what you think. All right, so here is what Qwe Are, who was an aide to AOC and himself running for Congress against Nancy Pelosi now, here's what he had to say about this theory. He says, it really is confusing why Trump would want to intentionally massively shrink the U.S. economy. None of this is due to external circumstances. He is manufacturing a recession. But it makes sense when you realize his goal is to create something like Russia, where the economy is run by a few oligarchs loyal to him. Creating that state is hard in a large, dynamic, powerful economy with too many actors who can oppose him. So he's accelerating, concentrating money and power into the hands of his loyalists while he crashes the rest.
That should send a chill down your spine, bro. That right there. I mean, that makes sense, right? That makes sense. That's not even the full case yet either.
However, I would say that at this point, until proven otherwise, the primary actor in the government and in the economy is actually Elon. So I think it makes sense to think in terms of Elon's incentives here and what he may actually want to accomplish. And if you think back at the last economic crashes, both in COVID and in the 2008 financial crash, while initially everyone suffered, including the rich, out of both, the rich were able to buy up assets on the cheap and emerged even wealthier and more powerful than before. So in 2000.
Also, they bailed out the wealthy, said it would trickle down, and it didn't fucking trickle down.
Not only did they get their own custom bailout, but they were able to buy up housing stock at absurdly low prices. The rich got richer than ever, inequality skyrocketed, and the big banks got bigger than ever. Same deal with the COVID era recession. So while, again, everyone suffered initially, there was a huge bailout package, which, yes, did benefit ordinary people. But if you look at who came out really on top after COVID, after all was said and done, you can see people like Elon Musk, people like Jeff Bezos, people like Mark Zuckerberg getting far wealthier. Their net worths, which were already very high, skyrocketed beyond anyone's wildest dreams.
So, in other words, with every economic crash, with every massive downturn, what's happened in modern American history is we've gone closer and closer and further in the direction of a new Gilded Age, right? Where a very tiny number of people on top have everything and everybody else is a peasant and battling for the crumbs. You're a corporate slave, right? And so it sort of coincides with his ideology, doesn't it? He literally openly says the 1890s were a tremendous time. We were the most wealthy we've ever been. No, we weren't. It was like 3 people on top. Everybody else was living in tenement homes, and there were children working in factories losing their hands to the machinery, and we were all living in immense poverty. Guys, this is dark.
So are they thinking that another economic crash would once again inure to their benefit? Here's the other piece that's worth thinking about as well. Crash and crisis leads to governments and authoritarian leaders claiming more power for themselves. They can use the crisis and the emergency as a justification for taking on extraordinary powers and for taking extraordinary measures.
Think about that. Massive economic crash, huge numbers of people get laid off, things are more expensive, bodies in the streets. Boom, Trump says, I'm declaring martial law. I'm declaring martial law. I'm invoking the Insurrection Act. You're not allowed to protest. Oh, man, we are dangerously close to like dystopian sci-fi futuristic novel where you have literal cartoon villains on the top. And that kind of is what Elon is and what Donald Trump is.
Again, measures that can be custom fit to primarily benefit oligarchs like Elon Musk. What's more, in both cases, the economic crash in 2008 and the COVID crash both helped to facilitate the rise of fascist governments. So in 2016, obviously Trump 1.0, and now here we are back again, Trump 2.0. Obviously, that is an aim that Elon and Trump would both themselves support. So I don't know, guys. Well, we're running around here going, like, what are they thinking with these tariffs while they're slashing government spending? Don't they know that this is going to cause a massive contraction? Can't they see the stock market crashing? Can't they understand how this is going to be devastating for the economy? Maybe they do understand, and maybe that's kind of the point.
Who has a better life, cats or dogs? Sadly, cats are often seen as low maintenance, so owners don't give them the...
Anyway, so I just wanted to touch base with you, and no one's listening, so hey, that's okay. 9 minutes and 24 seconds. What are you going to do with that? You know, and it's coming at us pretty quick. Now, 2014, I kind of died and saw all this, you know, from above, and then I came back and I got my body into the shape it is now. It's kind of busted up, but it's okay. And the thing about it is, you know, yeah, it can be a little painful, a little, you know, like I'm kind of sore all the time. But at some point, meaning I have these, you know, major things that they want to operate on, and I'm no, sorry, I'm not going to do that unless I have to. You know, it's like my leg falls off. Oh, and the leg's like over there, and I'm over there. You can stick it back on. Okay, let's do that. So that's the real deal. Is like, what are you going to do? The only way that's going to stop this is because you heard him say, you know, basically, once, you know, they take everything down and it's totally chaos and the markets crash and the last, you know, the 08 crash and the COVID crash, on the other side of the people who made all the money was the Elon Musks and the Zuckerbergs and the, you know, all of those, the poster kids, of the trillionaires. So, and they're, going to get the $20 trillion tax break for the rich and corporate structure probably by May. And I see some larger thing occurring, some super duper thing that will not only, take us down, but it'll take them down too, put them on the same level as us. Because all through history, look at the French Revolution, right? But just as the Who, the band, the English rock and roll band, said, had this great little song, don't get fooled again. So that's why I'm out in the woods. That's why I picked a place I'm at. This is very unsustainable for rich people, so they can't sustain it. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. And it's really up to you. You need to, in your neighborhood, start a salon, start a coffee house, start a bookstore, start something that can be a business that can help people. There was a building in the Lower East Side called Quando, right? And St. Mark's went from the West Village all the way to the East Village. And in the East Village is like, where punk and all the art and the Lower East Side was. And it was pretty interesting kind of neighborhood. In the 60s, it was like where the flower kids hung out. But in the 70s and 80s, it was a lot rougher. My one little street of Avenue, 13th and between C and B, there were 5 murders every week for 20 years. Now that was okay. Those were the people who needed to get gotten rid of. So, and it would be somebody who was like pushing the biological, circle of the community, and they would be taken away. Right, you'd find them splatted. I started this thing out as the big splat. It was kind of like that. You'd get up in the morning to go to work, and there'd be a body on the sidewalk, and it was obvious that he was thrown off a roof. Right, right, and people would just say, "Oh, that's scumbag. Oh, that's good." Maybe somebody would like kick him into the curb, or over into a an alley or whatever. But they just who cares? And that's where we're heading. So I've seen that in New York City, and that's when that movie Escape from New York, the guy with a patch, Pluskin or whatever his name was. Anyway, so it's what you gonna do about it, Nobody's watching right now, They didn't want to listen to what those people were saying. Then, you believe them or not believe them, I don't care. I mean, none of this really matters. It really doesn't, I just went because a church group that came to us, I wanted to say goodbye, and I wanted to have a nice prayer in the circle, right? So anyway, so that's kind of where it's at, What are you going to do? The only things that's, the only time you can have the life you want is when you make it. The only way you can make it is when you have a covenant with a higher power than yourself. Every 12-step program is about that, right? And you don't have to believe in a church or anything, but, so this is lady who's a minister. And so I had a nice little theological talk with her. And she was like, so I just, in a space of 3 minutes, I told her things that just rocked her theological, ideological belief structure of her religion, right? I was like, and then we talked another 2 minutes. I said, but it's not about any of that. It's not about what you believe or what your ideology is. Those are all illusions. It's about the relationship you have with love's co-creation, which is the higher creative power, God, period, right? And Father, Son, Holy Ghost, they're all one thing, Jesus was God incarnate in body. He showed up, right, to give us an example of what you could do, So it's up to you. What are you going to do? You're going to just, go into, and that's, what's happened in the Gaza Strip. For 75 years, The Palestinians, who are the Jewish people, they're all Semitic. They're all cousins. And they're going along with this thing because it's kind of straight out of their book. Oh, we're martyring ourselves. What better, if I martyr myself, I go straight to heaven and get, 6 virgins. I mean, that's not how it works. Sorry. Right here on earth is love's co-creation. It is the thing that is heaven on earth right here. I mean, I live in the deep green. Why? Because it's heaven on earth. Even though I'm surrounded by cockroaches who are just ripping it up, my little place is what it is, right? And it's beautiful. And one day, that little flap here on my heart will just kind of snap off. Oxygen won't get to my brain, and within 10, 15 seconds, I'll kind of bang. I'll either be sitting down and they'll find me like this, or I'll fall over and maybe break my hip, but it won't matter because I'll be dead. So this doesn't matter. My body doesn't matter. It's what it is, and I see it very clearly, and I've been seeing it very clearly for 70 years. Since I was 4, I saw this coming, right, and talked about it, and I worked for corporate guys who this is kind of all I talked about, right, and they understood. That's why they hired me. They wanted to know the little nuances so they could invest. And I invested. I played that game, but after I died on the 7th time and came back and realized that God, I was waiting in that basement cafeteria of Hitler's rifle squad, and all I could smell was vomit. And God said, "Hey, you've been doing a great job. You can go back and finish. You just got a little bit more to do, and then you can move on, or you can stay here and wait." Right? And so, this is the waiting room. He said, yeah, of your own choosing. I said, "Oh, really? I chose this." And he said, "Yeah, and or you can go back." And every time you've died and come back, it's been a little easier and a little harder all at the same time. It's kind of interesting. And so, as I was living the 15 years of unexplainable, definable, basic hedonism, guy kept saying, "No, you need to know this. You need to experience this. This ain't bad." Whereas the guys you're with, those lawyers, they have given me up, and they view this as their God, meaning materialism, titty bars, big house, fancy car, ability to go on a private jet wherever they're going. But they are totally extended. They got 11, decimal salary, and they're still overextended. So what are you going to do? And what's the balance of all of this, right? So since no one's watching, I'm going to just kind of tack here for a second.
So owners don't give them the mental stimulation they need.
This is going to be devastating for the economy. Maybe they do understand, and maybe that's kind of the point.
Another possibility, just like what happened with the threat of the tariffs a month ago, the theory at that time was Trump announces these tariffs, acts like they're 100% going into place, at the last minute backs off. But when he announced that he was going to do the tariffs a day or two before, what happened? The market immediately crashed. Well, if you're an insider and you have knowledge and you know that, hey, on this day at this time, the market is going to tank, what do? You can short the market, right? So Trump and all his robber baron buddies could have, through proxies, placed bets on the market tanking, rake in a couple more billions of dollars, right? And then Trump, right after he makes his wealth from that, cashes out, and then says, "Oh, by the way, the tariffs, yeah, I made a deal at the last minute, so I'm going to scrap them." And who's to say that's not exactly what's going on now, too? Every theory Crystal laid out is legitimate here, and is potentially the core of what's going on. But this is what you need to understand. Even if Trump very shortly decides, actually, I'm rolling back the tariffs, or I'm reducing the tariffs, which is very possible, he could have already cashed in with the insider knowledge to short the market, make even more money. So it's almost like He's using the U.S. economy and even the global economy as his plaything to continue stacking billions on top of billions on top of billions, which is very similar to what he did with his crypto scam, which launched 2 days before his inauguration. That was all planned out. It was a colossal fraud, and he got billions and billions of dollars off that, right? And now this could be a very similar thing. So look, I mean, I wish this wasn't the case. I wish that these theories were as tinfoil hattish as they seem. But given everything that we already know about what Elon is doing and what Trump is doing and what their character is like, I think it's sort of inescapable that this is really on the menu, right? Because what are the other options? What are the other options? Honestly, like stupidity and incompetence is the biggest other option. Like he literally just ideologically believes in tariffs and doesn't care about the downside or thinks in the long run it's going to work out. And so it'd be mass stupidity and incompetence, which gets us to this point. And then there is a third option. The third option is tanking the economy on purpose. Why? Because he's some sort of a foreign asset, right? And he views his job as to bring down the U.S. I think that's sort of the most unlikely, and that's an extraordinary claim. It would require extraordinary evidence. But having said that, outside of stupidity and incompetence and ideological certainty about something that he's wrong about, being a foreign asset and purposely tanking it to help out him and his robber baron buddies, those are the only three options we're talking about here. Because I'll tell you what's not on the table. What's not on the table is, oh, these across-the-board tariffs are intelligent and good and will work out in the long run, and it's actually going to make America great again. I mean, that's the most preposterous of all of it, right? Yeah, the guy is making America great again by passing a budget which slashes $880 billion from Medicaid, basically takes away health care from poor people and disabled people all across this country. That's making America great again. Clearly, he doesn't care about the plight of the average person. Fucking clearly, right? So then why is he doing what he's doing? Look, all these theories are sound. So you guys tell me, just like Crystal laid out there, but tell me in the comment section if you find this stuff convincing, and tell me what you think it is. Is it just incompetence and stupidity? Or is he a foreign asset? Or is it exactly what Crystal laid out? Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications.
Yes, do that for me. Click that bell, hit that button. So anyway, no one's here, no one's watching, no one's listening, and no one's caring. Well, good luck with that, right? Now I'm not giving up. I never have, never will, and I'll keep doing what God tells me to do until I keel over dead, and then that'll be fine. I'll be called home, and really, I've worked in hospitals. I've done every kind of medical you can name, except surgery, but I did a little of that too as a surgical EMT. Basically, life is good, even when it's terrible. As a photojournalist, I went to war zones and economic war zones, environmental war zones, where people were suffering, and would try and tell the story, not just get the bleed that leads, And that's why I was relatively successful at doing that. But I didn't that wasn't my career. It was just something that I had the opportunity to do. I was placed in a position where I could do it. I did it. And out of doing it the first few times, I got a lot of credit for it. That's how I got into Magnum. And that's how I got Lisette Mandel and Cartier-Bresson to be my photo... I don't know what to call them, because I had a lot of other great photo teachers, but they were my photo community, when we would go to their house and have a salon. Start a salon in your neighborhood about whatever you're really passionate about doing, It's one of the best things. I mean, it was just, and, then meeting Donna Ann Mack on Adams on the subway, and then being with her with 8 years and traveling the world and had a photo studio, DNA, down and out, right? And so, it was great. And I was smart enough to know when the time that she needed to do her own thing, and she did. And I, said, okay, sweetheart, we did a great thing. You've gotten yourself to a place by being with me to move forward in your own way, right? So, I love you. And she did. And so go. Google her, and you can see where she got to, right? So, and she's a great person, and I was really blessed to have her, to be with her for 8 years. Right? We traveled the world. We had great fun. It was just, great stories. I can tell stories of being with her on and on and on and on and on. And I have. And you guys need to go back and look at my shows. I haven't done a show for 13 days, and I may do a few more this coming week because it's supposed to be pretty and nice. And I'm going to be able to get around and do a few errands. So I'm going to do that. So I'll probably do, I want to talk about, I have a friend of mine, the lucky guy, and he survived. I mean, the stuff I've been through is nothing compared to what he's been through. So, ocean liner, the United States being turned into a reef.
According to Science Friday, the ship will be sunk to the bottom of the sea and turned into an artificial reef, joining more than 4,300 artificial reefs off the coast of Florida. Other sunken ships have become artificial reefs in the past, which have helped boost marine life as well as scuba diving and fishing tourism.
It says United States. So here's a picture of her.
This week, after a notable career, the SS United States, a 1950s ocean liner, is taking her sunset cruise. Like many retirees, the ship is heading south from Philadelphia to Florida, where she'll be reinventing herself. In this new chapter, the SS United States won't be a ship at all. She's taking up a new vocation at the bottom of the sea. The ship will be sunk and turned into an artificial reef, hopefully providing a new home for marine life. So how do these artificial reefs work? Are ships good candidates for them? What are the risks? Joining me now to dive into this.
Well, we won't go there. But that ship started being made during World War II, end of World War II. Right? It was like, put on the drawing board. That's one of the larger ships ever made. And it's got 5 holes, right? It's virtually unsinkable. The Titanic, which said, "Oh, this boat will never sink." Well, it was, it had been, what's the right word, messed with. So it would sink because it sank with all of the old wealth on it. So the new wealth could push forth the business plan that we have in front of us now. And Donald Trump is the complication that comes in mid-end of the plan that was, set out in 1891 in Paris. Right? And so, because all of these things that, the global warming, all that stuff, the global warming that we're experiencing is just the interlude before the next ice age that's coming. And it will come like that. Whitley Strieber and Art Bell wrote a book called The Day After Tomorrow. And they made a movie out of it. Go online. Let's see. Whoops, wrong one. Novel and movie, Day After Tomorrow. Who wrote it? Let's see. The 2004 movie, The Day After Tomorrow, was co-written and directed by Roland Emmerich, right? And the novelist of the film was Whitley Strieber, and they don't even mention Art Bell. Art Bell is a really interesting character, and he was really instrumental. Okay, they did. Day After Tomorrow is a 2004 America science fiction disaster film, conceived, co-written, and co-produced and directed by Roland Emmerich, based on the 1999 book, The Coming Global Superstorm by Art Bell and Whitley Strieber, and starring Dennis Quaid, Jack Gyllenhaal, Seal Ward, Emma Rossum, and Ian Holland. Let's see. Yeah, I can. After Tomorrow is a 2004 American fiction disaster film conceived and co-produced and directed by Roland. Let's see, Global Superstorm by Art Bell and Whitley Strieber, and starring. It's just what I said. Okay. Anyway, so go look at that movie, and it starts out where the person's like up on the North or South Pole, and it's green. It's like, and there's this flower growing, and there's grass, right? And the camera pulls back, and they're on like the South Pole, right? And everyone else has got the big things, and this thing is like warming up, right? And this book was written in the late 1990s, right? And then, so all of this warming is occurring, and then like this, like a snap of a rubber band, what happens is all of those little things that are sucking the heat from Africa and South America and taking up the Gulf of Mexico and across the east coast of New York, up to the Netherlands and across to Europe, all of that stops because those little cyclonic turbines that are in the ocean stop, and they have been slowing down for the last 20 years to a point where it's like, uh-oh. And if it stops, it's one of those things that can basically go from a sunny, warm day of 80 to 20 degrees below zero, right? Like, so watch that movie because that's what's coming, right? And that's why Elon Musk bought the tunneling company, because he's for the last 20 years been digging condos underground, like 300 feet down, to put rich people, right? Store all their goodies. But I don't know if you've ever been that far underground, like in a mine or anything else. It's not a nice place, even if like you spray the walls with concrete and then cover it with like pretty pictures. I mean, I went into one of those things. It was gigantic. It was like the size of a football stadium. And it had trees growing and it was gorgeous, but that never ending like smell of shit, right? And also, everything was dank because you're friggin' 300 feet underground, come on. No, the only place that this earth was made for us as the Garden of Eden. We just need to stop screwing it up. We have plenty of resources, but rich people just want more. What these guys are trillionaires. What more money do they need? They want it all. It's a disease, right? And even the devil wasn't going there, right? It's just you mix the temptation of Satan with the stupidity of humans, and this is what you get, right? So it's I have this sense of Freudenschreiber. I mean, I've done everything under the frigging sun. And that United States, SS United States, that boat and its history is a real good describer of me. It's had many, 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 many lives, right? And it always comes out on top. Now, its choice of being this rich guy, billionaire in New York, he owns a big chunk of the harbor on the East River in Brooklyn, and he wanted to get that boat and turn it into a hotel, which would have been a great idea, tourism, blah blah blah. But he was a little slow on the draw because the people were thinking it. They're about to do it, unless he comes up with a big chunk of change and has it dragged to New York and put on the side there and then turned into a really nice hotel, which wouldn't be a bad idea. It's going to be turned into a reef, right? And so, as that little thing says, it's been done hundreds of times. It kind of works. They don't have the full, but it's expensive because they have to take every toxic thing out of the boat. A lot of asbestos, a lot of lead paint, a lot of toxic things. So that's what they're doing right now. They're spending about $20 million just scraping all the nastiest stuff out of those boats, and which is a great deal. So that guy with a restaurant and a hotel, if he could say, hey, let me take this to New York because its hull is still indestructible, right? So that is America. So that's the USSS United States, not America. United States, because that's who we are. We are United States. We're not America. America's an Italian guy who is a real grifter, like Carradine, right? Like Neon Husk. All of these guys are grifters. They did not have money. They did not have a great idea. They stole shit and leveraged it. And you look like Elon with his Mars Express bus. No, it's like the last two launches. It blew up. Right, and scattered super toxic shit all over the Caribbean, and no one's even saying anything. No one's, So we are really in and this is only going to speed up because they can't do this on the slow motion. So by April 1st, less than 30 days from now, there's going to be a catastrophic event, but we're still going to go full bore ahead with the stupidity stuff. The beginning video of the guy talking on and on and on about what Donnie's doing is who knows whether that's it. But like he said, there's three choices. These guys are either unbelievably stupid, and that goes along for the rest of us who voted them in, or there is a hidden hand behind these guys. These guys are just the poster boys to fascism, right? Or these guys are just taking everything they can, right? And then going underground and wait because they have some inside information of some catastrophic event that's about to occur. There's a catastrophic event about to occur. There is a catastrophic event about to occur. There's a catastrophic event. And now who else is saying? Everyone else is saying that, right? Donnie is saying, and they're letting crazy, fucked up people from jails and mental institutions, As I see it, probably the sanest people are the ones in jail and mental institutions. So anyway, here it is, 37 minutes and 37 seconds, and no one's saying anything, so I'm going to go. Okay? Have a nice time.